Good evening, Europe, and good morning, United States and around the world. Welcome to the second edition of Bitcoin Bull Run Anatomy. Yo, myself, how's it going? I see you guys in the chat, John Allen. So on this channel, as you know, may or may not know, we do a lot of videos we call Talk to Caviar, and the purpose there really is to mix informal, fun discussion, relaxed with Bitcoin education. And a lot of that focus is, of course, on the Bitcoin Bull Run. But these videos that I call Bitcoin Bull Run Anatomy, I focus on the bull run, the anatomy of it, what I'm looking for to try and identify a top. And they're just really my thoughts, and obviously not financial advice. You may hey to Robert Brown in London. Yeah, unfortunately, the internet connection I have here is not the best. Nothing I can do about it, unfortunately. I tried, I restarted the computer. So it is what it is. Anyways, we're not seeing a top anyone. Yeah, 30 second class, but I'm in my usual. Okay, I can see that getting a lot of negative feedback on the internet. I try to restart the computer. Restream that I used to tell me I only have now it looks like it's gone. Let me just write to you guys in the chat. Connection. I don't even know if you can hear me. Probably you can. Anyways, I'll go ahead and anyways, the plan is I've created this framework, the 5 things that I look for in trying to identify the top in the bull run. It's my passion. You can hear me 70%. Okay. I'll dive into that, look at a lot of different things. There's different experts in different areas. I try to collect all of it and make my own conclusion. Yeah, you want that soccer shirt from a Brumby, right? Or football, actually, it's called. Anyways, let me get to my the presentation. And if you guys have questions, I will happily answer questions afterwards. But first, I'll try and focus on getting through the presentation to get all of that sort of out of the way. And then afterwards, I can focus on that question. All right, let's see what happens when I put this on. Okay, so that's looking fairly decent in terms of you guys can see it. Yeah, it's so I'll tell you about my mic. I'm getting a question if it's Puppy's mic. This mic, because it is one, I like to spend my money in Bitcoin. I got this one from a friend that stopped using it a long time ago. It's still kind of working, although it is falling apart, but I have decided to grant myself a new mobile phone and a new mic or headset when the new iPhone comes out, which will be my first iPhone ever. iPhone. All right, let's get started. Focus here. Everything I say is my personal opinion. None of it is actual advice. I know that central banking and Keynesian economics is teaching us as a mindset is that, hey, if you got a problem, they step in and they take care of things, and it creates this kind of nanny state where people end up looking for other people to solve their problems. No, you are yourself responsible for your own your destiny is based off in your hands and not in a government or a centralized authority. Yeah, I'm very sorry about the audio quality. Will be able to operate my computer second for this year. That also is a low-end computer because I wanted to spend my money on Bitcoin. The presentation, just want to highlight that you are responsible. I only share my ideas, and it's up to you. You do, and it's your responsibility. Another thing, history doesn't repeat; it rhymes, and we can't look at the past and say we know for sure what's going to happen. We can just look for guide indicators. So, well, I'll say this. Gary has a. I'm really sorry about it. It'll be better if I try another day soon. And everyone else understand the audio is really, really bad. I'm going to use this framework to do an update and a status on the 5 areas that I find important that I look to. And so I will be doing the same presentation, but with an update in each of the areas and how I consider that at that particular given time. So I will be repeating this presentation. So, I mean, I can't see how bad it is for you. I don't know if it's bad for everyone. It may become, I can see Gary, you're saying it's better. It may be going in and out the quality, which, by the way, is the name of burger chain in California. Pretty decent burgers, actually. So, listen, if for you it's bad, the audio, don't waste your time. I'll probably try and do this weekly or bi-weekly. Let's see, it depends if something changes. I'll get back to the presentation. All right, so another thing, getting it 100% right is absolutely impossible. It's impossible for everyone, for anyone. So many factors has an influence that it cannot, nothing like this can be predicted, but we can try and basically take the temperature in areas that are important and see what they tell us, and then each individual try and see what they believe will happen, and if not relevant to you, just keep checking hard, which is great. Personally, and I went all in. I've said that before for that reason, a little bit relevant for me. Because eventually, I would like to get a car. I live in LA, and having a car, nice. All right. Also, yeah, many unforeseen things can happen, and short term always is extremely predictable. I said medium term is more predictable, and long term is, in my opinion, when it comes to Bitcoin, very predictable. Although, of course, people can disagree and say that they don't believe that, but that's how I look at it. Kind of getting better, still starting. I'm sorry. Hopefully, I can try again next week, maybe, and get a better quality going. All right, let's see. So, the 5 things that I look at that I think are all important to keep in mind. We need to understand where a Bitcoin bull run, this current Bitcoin bull run that we're in, where it's going. Is and where it potentially will top is, first of all, a general ballpark figure. I wasn't looking for a top at 20,000. I wasn't looking at a top at 50 or 60,000. So for me, that wasn't even relevant to consider a top. A lot of people thought that could be the top 65. I was and still am absolutely confident that that's nowhere near the case. I look at on-chain analysis as well. There's some great experts out there into that, detail that a little bit more. I obviously go through all the points here. One thing that I have looked a lot at, I haven't really seen anyone at this, is how vertical the price actually is. How vertical is the bull run? Because the more vertical it gets, the more likely it is to have the blow off top where the market just tips, runs out of buyers, and all of a sudden sellers and fear takes over, and you start having a crash in a bear market, because you have a lot of people that just sell in panic. They don't know what they bought. They don't know is the future money of the world, that eventually will go much higher. So that's important for me. Sell the news days. This one I really love, and I don't think that gets enough attention in Bitcoin. Let's see. I'll go through that as well. Mayer multiple. Don't really like to call it Mayer multiple, because Trace Mayer ended up apparently shilling some Mimble coin. I guess I shouldn't even mention it. And I think something about wanting to try and make people pump money off people by pumping it and making them buy it. I don't know. Not a claim. I don't know. This I heard. So, but he disappeared for the same reason. And some people say Wimble now, since that was the coin that he was apparently attempting to shell, or trying to shell. So, anyways, people know it as Mayer multiple. I'll stick to that. All right. General ballpark. So, in September 2018, in the middle of that bear market, I don't know how's the quality is at the moment of the, if you guys can hear me, if you can see it. But general ballpark figure. Then I put a tweet in the middle of the bear market in 2018, where already back then I was looking at historic price performance of Bitcoin, and just basically looked at each bull run, where it had peaked, where it had blown off, what was the high point of it, and kind of right. Rishi is saying it's basically audible. Sometimes I get that means you can hear some of it. I'm sorry. You know what? But I want to do this. It'll be practice for myself, and then hopefully I get a better connection, and then I can make it all doable and enjoyable, hopefully for you guys. So in that tweet. Very proud. It was my first tweet that went above 1,000 likes. I wrote, each time Bitcoin has dropped 70 Bitcoin more, the following all-time high has been 5 to 17 higher than the, and if that was to repeat, the next all-time high would be between 100 and 340,000. So that was in the middle of the bear market. And what's worth noting here, though, is that the one that was 5 times higher was in 2013, when it turned out to be the same bull run in 2 legs, which might be what we're seeing now. And the 17 was from the top of that 13 bull run, which was 1,100, to the 20,000, which was the top in 17. So the 5, I would say, is not from a halving bull run top. That's actually from a first leg to a second leg. But if that 5, again, history doesn't repeat, it rhymes. If the 5 was to repeat, that would be 5 multiple 65,000 that we set as the top in the spring this year, which would take us north of 300. Anyways, so I wrote this back half a year before Plan B came out, even with his first model. In that first model, and this is just goes to say that it's not necessarily rocket science. You look at history, and we kind of get the general idea of the direction of things. His first model that came out in about half a year later, I think it was March or April 19. That was the stock to flow. That one predicted a top of 100,000. Then 1 year later, in spring of 2020, I believe, was the time, he came out with a stock to S2FX, which was cross assets, and that one predicted $288,000 as a median. Let me just go back here to the. There you go. That's the median price. So basically saying that Bitcoin would swing around this price. So the top would be higher than this in this epoch between these two halvings. Again, my point here kind of is, that ballpark for many reasons. Other people before either, even I tweeted that, and Plan B put out his first model. For years, people had been looking at, okay, what's the direction overall over time of the Bitcoin price? And this is the ballpark that we should end up landing in. And that's one of the reasons that when we were at the top of 65,000 back in spring, that I was very confident that that is not the top. It was just the end of the first leg. Then the bull run took a breather, and what we saw is it came down to about $28,000 from the top of 65. So there was a more than 50% drop, and since then we've gone from 28 to now also having crossed 50. Right now we're at 47,000, and that confirmed me, together with on-chain analysis, that, I mean, if you're in a bear market, you don't go up by almost 100%. To me, it 100% confirms that, well, nothing is 100%, nothing's guaranteed, I make no promises either. But to me, it absolutely tells me that we are in the second leg, and that it looks a lot like in 2013 so far, with two legs. Not completely the same, but it seems that both the 13 halving bull run and this one went so steep, and I have a graph later on that. It went so steep that it caused a premature blow off top, where some thought in the market, which means fear, uncertainty, and doubt, like this had the Elon Musk thought, where he was saying, asking questions about the energy use of Bitcoin. And that triggered, simply, these things triggered a reset of the bull run, where when the price goes up, a higher and higher percent of Bitcoin are in the hands of weak hands, people that don't have conviction, people that bought it only because the price went up, people that don't know that that they've bought the pure money of the world, and it doesn't even matter if it corrects, it's going to go way higher. So the people that haven't done this research don't have the conviction, and when price starts going down, they panic, and that triggers an overreaction to the downside. And that's what happened now between the first leg up to 65 and until we hit the 28. It was reset, where we got rid of the weekend. Thousands of people, literally, not to panic, but to hold on. We buy the dip. And it seems confirmed now that we are heading up on that second leg. I have a graph of that later. All right, back to the presentation. So my point with the general ballpark is, I can already set that, so no need to go too much into detail here. Basically, it wasn't the top. I was convinced of that, and correct that it was not a top. On-chain was confirming that, I feel certain that the bull run is intact, and we are heading way higher. Now, the second thing that I look to is on-chain analysis. On-chain analysis, in my opinion, is way more and useful than technical analysis. Technical analysis has been developed over, 100 years of asset trading, but based only on the trading statistics of price and volume, because that's all the information we had on traditional. But Bitcoin is much more transparent than a lot of people, including the people that want to say it's used for money laundering. It's a terrible money to use for money laundering. So, because all transactions are transparent now, if you want privacy, that's possible, but majority is very visible on blockchain. So we have here some information basically about all the on-chain transactions, who's selling, have, the addresses buying have been around for a long time, to have a history of never selling. A Bitcoin moving to exchanges, which is bearish because more will be for sale. It looks like, old holders are looking to cash in or cash out somewhat, and or Bitcoin moving off the exchanges, which suggests that long-term believers are buying it and taking it off and putting it in cold storage, simply because if you don't plan to speculate with it anyway, that is for many the choice they will take. All right, so on chain, a couple of the things. This is still an area that I'm learning a lot from Willy Woo and Will Clemente, Glassnode, that supplies the data and also makes the own analysis, but also really other analysts looking at on-chain. And some of the things they look at is how many new users are coming to Bitcoin, and that is still very high new amount of daily users, and you don't have that in a bear market. The bear market is when retail stops buying, when individuals like all of us stops buying, and we still have a very high level of new users, which tells us that we are still in a bull run, because retail at the end of the day really are a very important driving force in a bull market. Also, the supply and exchanges already spoke about that one, so I guess I'll leave it at that. On to the next one. I can see a lot of people have left the stream here. If terrible, and if you guys can't hear it, then I shouldn't even finish this. I can do it another day, hopefully, while we're else, and see how, if I can get a better quality. But I did do a toxic happy hour of this location back in May, and that worked pretty well. So I was hoping that this is gonna work. Anyways, let me know if it's absolutely terrible. I'll just end it here. And again, I'm going to do this on a regular basis, simply to let you guys know what I believe the status is in these 5 areas, what these 5 areas are telling us, and explain which conclusion I'm drawing in terms of how close are we to the top. All right, but another thing, so this is something that I have looked into quite a bit, and haven't really heard others talking about this before I started like sharing that sort of data on especially Bitcoin Twitter. But if you look at how steep the bull runs have been, how fast the price has gone up, which I think is going to identify when the top is going to blow off, because the faster it goes up, the harder it's going to market to sustain that, all of a sudden much higher, much faster, much price. But in 2013, where we did have 2 legs in the bull run, in the first leg, which was April, I believe, the last 100% of the price rise happened in only 5 days. In 2013, a second leg of that bull run, the 100% price increase from approximately 5,700 happened in only 9 days. So in 17, where there was only one long leg, you claim that bull run, the last 100% took 16 days. Now the interesting thing is that each time we went from leg to the next one, it's actually expanded by exactly 1.8, pretty much. I can't say that's anything else but a coincidence. Nevertheless, it's interesting to look at these things, and you can always make your mind up if it's something useful or not. So in 2021, this current bull run that we're in, I think personally that it became apparent that we had a first leg up, and the 23 days was not the last 100%, but it was almost to the top. The thing is, it kind of ended up getting more rounded the top. So it was the amount of days it took to do the last 100% that happened without any major corrections after this. It's a little bit twisted, but it's a great example of why history doesn't repeat, it rhymes. There are elements in there. The second leg, I believe, we're in now, and I've put a target out of $300,000 per Bitcoin end of this year. And I have never put a target out on eToro that a Bitcoin didn't reach. I may have said that something is possible, but when I call it a target, I have at every single target correct. This one, I probably would not. I probably would not make a $300,000 target by end of year. Now I got my original target there was 200 by the end of Q1 next year, and then the bull run got really steep in that first leg and was steeper. It basically went up faster than in 16, 17. So I got really bullish and said, I believe we can do 300,000 by the end of this year. I'm not taking this target off the table yet because it's actually still. Thank you, Rishi. You're saying you think I should keep going. You know, if anyone finds it any useful, I'll keep going. Anyone else can obviously just disregard the video. I will make later versions as we go along in the bull run and let you guys know what I think that I see. So I also said in the beginning of July, when the price was around 30,000, I said, if we start moving up significantly by the end of July, I'm going to stick to that target, because as long as we started moving up by the end of July, which we did, then it is still very much possible to reach that 300,000. And I have a graph on that later. It's simply not only the direction, which is to reach the 300,000. That is actually the direction. I'll have that on a graph I can show you guys. But also, if you look historically, these halving bull runs tend to get steeper and deeper. They go parallel on a lock chart, basically meaning that the price increase, even in percentage, keeps going up. They basically, the price rise and faster in percentage terms even. And that gives us the parabola. And in these previous bull runs, Bitcoin 13, the last 5 months, it pulled off from that bottom between the two legs, it pulled off around 18x, I believe. And in 17, it pulled off more than 10x in about 5 months. So all we need to do is be in that ballpark, and 300,000 by the end of this year. Best thumb ratio ever. Now I wonder how many negatives I got. Of course, I'm slightly optimistic when you say, but let's see the judgment here. I'm just dating a tap with YouTube. That takes, my connection is not the best, so I'll go back and look at that afterwards. Yeah, thanks, Grace. I appreciate it. So all we need to do is be in the park of history, and 300,000 by the end of the year is possible, very possible. So as long as it's a very possible thing that could happen, and it is in the nature of these bull runs to get steeper and steeper, and we know we're in a bull run, and I believe we know we're in the second leg of this bull run, that target is staying, and I would love that I would never have to change the target in a negative direction. Should I put the target today? I probably would be very comfortable with my original target, but I'm seeing 1,000 by New Year's. Let's see. The dice is cast, and we'll see what happens. Back to the presentation. So what am I looking for now then in this second leg? I would say there's probably not going to be any top until that the speed of price increase has reached something where we have done 100% a doubling of the price in around 1 to 1.5 months. If it's more 1.5 months, I'd say no, we're not there. But it'll be interesting to see. Right now, that's way higher because we have still not done 100% since the bottom of the reset between these two legs up. So we'll see how that develops. But also, let me just get a quick drink here. Try and soothe my voice a little bit. If the audio is bad already, then I want to see if I can keep my voice. It's Thursday, that's right. So another thing I think that is important to talk about is that just because we had 2 legs in 2030 doesn't mean we'll have 2 legs now. I would say we will minimum have 2 legs, but I've also said for more than a year, if not 1.5 years, maybe more, that I believe that the next bear market will be significantly shorter than the last one. The last one took exactly 1 year, pretty much 65 days, and that's not going to be the case, I think, next time, because the tops have tended to come a longer time after the halving, and the up into the next one started earlier, and that just leaves less and less time for the bear market. But this is something that I very much do look into. And also there's another thing, and Willy Woo is saying the same thing here. He's one of the main on-chain analysts, and he's saying as well that basically the selling pressure from the mining reward, which is what has driven these cycles previously, is becoming less and less of the overall sell side of Bitcoin. Originally, there was supply except one that came from Mars, because all the Bitcoin was in the hands of miners. But that mining reward that every 10 minutes, which right now is 6.25 Bitcoin, that is fresh supply every 10 minutes, and then every 4 years it is cut in half. The fresh supply is cut in, which is the reason that we can get that supply ending up at stopping at 21 million, because the protocol keeps cutting it half until it makes it 0, when it becomes very, very small, and then 0. Because this amount of Bitcoin being mined and coming out of the mine, essentially they can either hold it or they can sell it, but nevertheless it's less Bitcoin coming out of the mining operation. So that overall, that influence, which has triggered the 4-year cycle, likely will get, it's getting smaller and smaller, and other factors start to play in, for instance, the exchanges, which get a lot of their fees, some of them in the trading fees, they get that in Bitcoin, not all of them, but some of them, which means that their profits, when their profits start being more the mining reward, then of course that becomes a little bit more important in terms of the sell side. So if the halving of just of the mining reward, that is less and less influential, because it's just a smaller side of the sell side. I get a message here that is having connection issues. I don't know if you guys see me or hear me, but of course, if it's terrible, you just gotta. But let's take a look at. So I was talking about how many days this final days of the bull runs take. So it's a Twitter, automatic Twitter account that tweets out the current run on a graph mapped up against the previous halving bull runs, all mapped on the current price. Excellent growth. So first, the line on the left that is highest, that's the purple one. So that was what the halving bull run, the first halving bull run looked like. The first halving happened in 2012. 12 months, this bull run played out. And that 5 days of vertical, 100% price increase was that very first tip on the purple. That was the first leg of the first halving bull run. That bull run showed that it was not a bear market between those two legs. On-chain shows still new users coming on. So on-chain, in hindsight, identified that we're still in a bull run, so if the price is going to go up higher. And then that happened after actually 80% correction. The price went down 80% before it started tickering up. And here, it went up. It only went down a bit more, which was enough for me to mistake in the bet with Greg Sosh. Populator came on. The next show it, Populator's back on top of the caviar that we did together. And it was very bullish. No, it's not going to go 40% down ever again. Until the end of 2022 was the bet. And well, we experienced that in spring. So that's why I have 2 stakes in my Twitter handle, and it'll stay there at least until I collect. Maybe more, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Maybe I feel like just having them there forever, just to remind Rick Sosh and Poppy. Anyway, and the other thing I want to say with that previous slide, if I just go back and see that, yeah. So my whole point, I got interrupted before by another message about my connection being terrible. The other reason, or the point I wanted to make is that, and here again, connection issue, is that because the mining sell price is so much smaller, instead of 2 legs up and then a hard big correction and a bear market, it may just start moving into being random legs up. So this might be the second leg up, and then after a certain while of being either in a correction like we've just seen, or bear market, which I think be shorter, then we'll see a next leg up or the next halving, because the mining reward is becoming so small and insignificant compared to other sell sides of Bitcoin. We'll see. I think it's I still have 6 viewers here, which obviously usually we have way more. We've also been inactive for quite some time. Not enough momentum here on the channel. Poppy and I have both been busy. Usually we used to do just a lot of toxic happy hours, but traveling, holiday, everything got in the way. And when it's not your main occupation, it kind of ends up being something you do a little bit down the line priorities, unfortunately. But it's important and good to prioritize family first. So, all right, back to this this graph. Thanks, Rishi. The purple line was the first halving bull run. That was the one in 13. The second halving bull run happened start in the summer of 2016. That's the green line that you see there. I don't know if you can see there's a green line there. So what happens when the halving happens, miners get only half the Bitcoin in rewards, which takes some of that sell side off the Bitcoin market, which tends to create an increasing price. And when this price starts to increase, people look at this asset and go, hey, this is an asset that goes up in price. I want to have some of that. And then when people jump in and say, hey, I want to have some of that, and the price goes faster. And that has that self-sustaining effect where it just, it's a positive spiral. And that's where we go off into a parabolic line with a green one. But if you can see, the green one is way more, it's not flat, but way more flat than the first one, the purple one. So there never was a blow off top on the way until the fall. Now, if you can see, ignore the yellow one, it's just an average of the first two. I find that a little bit less relevant, at least for the purpose here. The blue one, it's light blue. I don't know if you guys can see it, but the light blue one went up steeper than the green one. And that's why I've said many times that this bull run in nature is steeper than the 16-17 one, which is the green one. So we went up steeper and then had not exactly a clear blow off top. We had a more rounded top. Back spring at 65,000, we came down to 28, and now we started moving up, almost up 100%. We are again active in the bull run, and in my opinion, this is a second leg. Question, of course, how far it will go up. As I said initially, the ballpark figure I'm looking for is in the vicinity of 300,000. Let's see, maybe we won't make it, maybe we'll go to 800,000. It's just too early to tell. Look at the current trajectory, and let me just, so I want to share another screen here, another tab, and that is the graph I mentioned earlier, where I said, let's have a look at, so very importantly, this is not technical analysis, what you see on this graph. I don't do technical analysis. I'm definitely not an expert, so that is not, I mean, if you look at the 5 things about calling it, I didn't mention technical analysis as one, even as one of them. To me, on-chain is way more important on that same area, and then it's 4 other areas, basically, or genres of indicators that I find interesting or important. But if you look at this blue line, then that line when we started moving up from the reset, which was around the 20,000, and all I did was draw it along, these are weekly candles, draw it along those lines, or those candles, to see what is the direction. Again, this is not technical analysis. This is not saying we're going to go there. This is simply stating that if we keep that direction, is where we're headed, 300,000 by the end of the year. That's what I mean. As long as it's still a possibility, I will not change my $300,000 by end of the target. And let me just reiterate, that's a $300,000 plus. So we could go above. What I'm saying is we'll reach the minute is my target. And what kind of further supports the shock? Yeah, I know the stream is choppy. Unfortunately, a little bit on internet connection in this location here tonight. It's tonight in Europe, or night in Europe, and I hope I can get a connection. I'm going to be here for a little while. I hope I can get a better connection. I will do this on a regular basis, also to give an update of where we because I think this is very, very interesting to follow. This is much what I do full time, to be honest, and definitely my main passion. What further supports that will actually make it to 300,000 is the fact, as I mentioned earlier, that bull runs get more and more steep. They go parabolic. However, since we're right now in a red weekly candle, we don't really know, how far does that correct from the above 50 to below 50. I definitely don't see it going to 40. We could have put the bottom, it could a little bit further down. At long term, doesn't matter. It's interesting in terms of how we're looking on this graph. That is a simple line saying which this direction will reach. If we are BTC Moon Guy, my favorite Moon Guy, welcome to the show. Connection is terrible. You may not hear me, may not be able to see the stream either. hope to get a better connection soon, and I'll rerun this with updated numbers. But these factors, there's the fact they don't go metabolic, tells us we're going to reach 300,000 by next year. All right now on where this week is going to end, the next week is what will this correction look like? I don't think it'll be that bad. We can do the 300. No guarantees, no promises, but I think we've got it right. Back to the presentation. All right. I'll get to one of my favorites, one of my absolute favorites of the 4 indicators, and that is sell the news days. I don't hardly hear about this in Bitcoin, but I find it highly relevant. And I've done some observations on this that I want to share with you guys for yourself. Yeah, Moon Guy, my technical difficulties, I'm very unfortunate with an unstable internet connection. Blame infrastructure in Europe, although usually I think it's pretty good, but in my collection, it's not the best. Sell the news days, I feel, is highly underrated. If you go back and look, and I know this, I was there, and I remember giving a presentation, ran a meetup. I mean, I think I was very active back then because people had an interest back then in 2017, and at the time I had the facility and everything to put it together. So I was giving a lot then, and coming into a specific event, that was the CME futures, Bitcoin futures that allowed trading Bitcoin without ever having to touch it physically, which, by the way, is something I think the SEC committee said is open to because then that is on. I remember making a presentation about the CME futures and why it was great. It would be Bitcoin futures, and that they launched the 17th of December. That ended up being, now it's a great thing that we got it. However, it was not able to continue to support the price going even higher. Let's remember that we hit $20,000 most dollars for Bitcoin the 17th of December in 17, almost 4 years. That was still 100x from the previous bottom of $200. It was the bottom after the previous halving run. It was up 100x. So that ended up in this launch date in December 2017 was it ended up being that by the rumor, sell the news day, and that's what happened. Bitcoin peaked on that exact day, and then that basically, I guess people held up. People that were considering selling said, you know what, I'm going to wait selling until this happens because that's going to be great for Bitcoin. And then they choose all to sell on the 17th of December, and then that triggers average long positions that get squeezed, which means they're forced to sell Bitcoin that they don't have. Well, they have to never do calculations like that or explanations live unless you've I guess run them through your head. But basically, the leveraged traders are stopped out or forced out of that position, which creates further sell pressure. Have enough sell pressure, and there's no more buyers immediately around. It just, it's like a pendulum swinging, and then once the direction of the market is down, that becomes self-fulfilling, and then you see taking over, and all the people that came in and bought because the price was going up, and they bought without knowing what Bitcoin was. They didn't do the research. They didn't have the conviction because they couldn't. Carl Johnson, I'll take questions at the end of the show. You didn't miss a lot, I think, because the connection for me has been terrible. So I'll redo this show on a regular basis to update how I look at these 5 areas to determine the top in Bitcoin in the bull run. I'll take questions in the end once I'm through with the presentation. But if spiral starts going downwards and fear take over, and all these people, because what you have to remember is that as the price edges up, the bull run edges up, more and more people buy just because the price goes up. We call it number go up technology, and Moon Guy, he knows that. And because a higher percentage of the Bitcoin is held by people who don't have conviction, because they have no idea what they just bought because the price went up. Then when the price starts going down, they start selling just because the price is going down. So it's self-fulfilling. That's what causes the acceleration to the upside. That's what's causing the acceleration to the downside. Basic human psychology, greed and fear. All right. Back to the probably my favorite one of these 5 indicators. I guess I don't like it. So I'm personally all in Bitcoin. I don't hold other assets, but and I'm not recommending anyone to do that. Again, your own decisions in investments. This is only, me sharing my personal opinion. Use it for what you will, but you are responsible. Important to say that there's no guarantees, there's no promises. You got to wear your big boy pants and be responsible for your decisions. Another interesting thing. So for some of these, there's some people from my family that I manage on their behalf, because in general, I ask them, investing, it's just a passion of mine, and I bought my first stock when I was 12, and I just always found it rooting. So in a couple of portfolios, we held a Tesla stock, and last year split the stock. For each one stock you got that each were 1/5 the size basically of the previous. So it's technically, it doesn't change a thing. All it does is it takes the stocks and cut them in smaller pieces, but they're also small, so it's the same amount of overall stock, if you know what I mean. But again, exactly on that day, we sold 80% of the Tesla stock. And I guess that's a good example of a lot of other people thinking the same way, because this sell day by the rumor, or by knowing it's going to happen, and sell the news when it actually does happen, that actually caused a 34% drop in Tesla's share price in just 10 days. So it's another example of the sell the news day is actually quite important. I mean, both the Bitcoin bull run top in 2017 and the local Tesla top. Tesla since then is higher than that, but 34% correction in 10 days. That's and I believe that's including. Does that include weekends? I'm not sure. Nevertheless, 10 days is not a lot to lose 1/3 of the stock price. So I think that's an important feature. Now, we don't know if we're going to have any buy the rumor, sell the news days near the top of this bull run. But I would love to have a Bitcoin ETF day that is positioned somewhere either in December this year or first quarter next year. Now, I have no idea if it'll be there. And apart from timing the top, I don't really care, because Bitcoin doesn't need an ETF. All I'm saying is that in terms of trying to time Bitcoin bull run top, that would be like a dream come true to have such a major event, because it would be considered a major event by Bitcoiners and the investment community in general. So if we have such a date, and I did see something on Twitter today, but I think that was rumors or hearsay that it could happen already this year, because now they're open to a Bitcoin ETF on futures instead of actually holding Bitcoin, and might open the door for it. So if that happens in December this year, such an event, I think that might be a bad timing for me if I want to finally own a car. Yeah, but I know this is very choppy. Thanks for tuning. Sorry about the quality. I have a connection issue, and we'll be doing the same presentation but with updated opinion numbers in each of the 5 areas on a regular basis. I'll see if I can put a lot weekly. It might be promising too much. A Bitcoin ETF launch would be an awesome timing point if you ask me. All right, getting the again. Those 5 points. 5th one is the Maya multiple. What's the Maya multiple? 2 seconds. The Maya multiple is the price of Bitcoin right now divided by the price of Bitcoin the last 200 days. People also call it 200-day moving average. Not everybody knows what that is. So I think it's a easier to understand explanation. Current price of Bitcoin today divided by the average price of the last 200 days of Bitcoin. So if the Maya multiple is below 1, it means that right now Bitcoin is below where the average price was the last 200 days. And if it's above, it means that we are above the last 200 days. So anytime, historically it's ranged between 0.6 and way above 2.4. But I mean, it's been to 8 and further, especially early on, it swung out even more, which also makes it very hard to like do an exact timing of when does that tell us the top is in. But it's still useful for even considering if we're near a top, which we are not right now. I can tell you that the Maya multiple right now is 1.07, and that's definitely not a bull run top. But historically, very rarely does the price get all the way down to only being 0.6 compared to the last 200 days average. It basically means the price has moved down because it's below the average. Historically, that is a phenomenal time to go heavy in Bitcoin. And then it's monthly when we get above 2.4. Tops are usually found, or are always found, above 2.4. Again, this to me, it's not so useful for saying this could be it, but it's telling us, it's a little piece of the puzzle, and it's telling us if we are in either prices too low area or it's hot in terms of being overbought. And I think we'll leave it there with that, considering quality of the stream and everything. Apologies for that, but hey, it is what it is. We best. In conclusion, just to wrap it up, if we go through the 5 points, I mean, all 5 of them are telling us that there's a long way to go for this Bitcoin bull run to be near a top. Again, it may be on the second leg, and then we'll have a third leg, which may have a longer reset than the one we saw. We don't know that yet. It's just speculation. No, there's no way of telling. So everything's going to be easier to determine when we get closer. But someone please send me a press release that there's going to be a Bitcoin ETF. And for the sake of this, then I think it'll be a lot easier. No guarantee given, and it could be misleading, but it could be a lot easier to determine the top run. Anyway, in terms of general ballpark figure, so many things say we got to be at least in the vicinity of 300,000. So there's a long way to go. It's not yet, so I ain't got no finger on any trigger in terms of wanting to be able to purchase myself a transport. On-chain analysis is also telling us lots of new users. I'm by no means an expert in on-chain. I listen to the experts, so I'm not going to put a long way to go here. But I'm certain enough to that from Willy Woo and William Clemente, Glassnode, and the other analysts that, yeah, it is a long way to go there as well. In terms of how vertical the price is, which means how many days did it take us to double the price until we are today, the last 100% increase. That's also telling us there's a long way to go. Sell the news days, there are no major sell the news days here. And again, we know the bull higher before this is even relevant, so there's a long way to go. Mayer multiple says, well, it's 1.7. All previous tops have been above 2.4. And therefore, there's still a long way to go there. I think, considering the connection, let's jump to the questions. Happy to answer all questions, especially on this topic, of course. If there are any, probably not. There's only 5 viewers because of how terrible connection. I can't even rewatch this myself. I don't rewatch it anyway. I can't stand to see myself on a video, but very critical, I think, when it comes to everything, especially myself. But if you have any questions, let me know. And otherwise, I hope I have better luck with the connection next time. I don't see any questions, so I guess that might be it. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for staying with the low quality of the audio and probably also the video. Hello, Rishi. I have one. Okay, Rishi Kyle, you have a question. Let's see what you got. No guarantees that it depends on the question. What but let's have your question. Type it in. I'm waiting, and I'll wait. I'll give you time, and then we'll take it. Oh wait, there's a question. Sorry, Kyle. Did I miss your question? Looking at the weekly chart, do you think it may be setting up for a double bottom? We're just in the middle of a tiny little bleep. It's not even a correction. It's just like a small dip. A double bottom would be to go down to the same bottom. If you mean 28,000, I think there's no chance that we'll ever to see a price below 30,000 ever again. Highly likely we won't ever see 35. Unlikely to ever. I don't at all see that. But again, I'm not a technical analyst. But looking at these 5 things that have gone through here, I would say there's no way it's going to be a double bottom at 28. If that's what you mean, we're not going down ever again. My opinion, personal opinion, not financial. All right, what else we got on this massive scale of BTC appreciation? Okay, what have we got? Rishi Kyle. I'm thinking BTC will oscillate. Where it is now at 50K through the weekend. So that's short term. I always say, and I really mean that, the short term is unpredictable. So I really don't know. I think someone did some research on general Fridays, bullish days. So we could be moving up to maybe, nobody knows. Also, there's bearish Fridays. So but short term, it's too unpredictable. I don't want to say anything. I don't have any expectations. Anything could happen, I would say. Okay, I think that's the same question here in the next one. Yeah, I don't really have an opinion. I mean, either way, I don't know. All I know is that recently, both Willy Woo and Will Clement said that there was an increase in supply and exchange, and that usually a little bit of profit taking from long-term holders. Also, I did see another tweet, but I did not have the chance to really dive into it, saying that it could be an abnormality, which means there may not have been increase in the supply. I just don't know. Personally, I think I'd like to wait to see tomorrow and see what happens. But yeah, okay. I think that's it for the questions. Thanks for tuning in. Sorry about the quality. And remember, to store more value in dirty fiat currency than you can afford to lose, because it's a built-in policy that the fiat, like euro, dollar, Danish crowns, yuan, whatever, it's a built-in policy. This is facts. It's official policy. They're not hiding it, that they print more and it loses value. Okay, so just have that in mind when you want to store a lot of value in that over a long period of time. There may be better alternatives. It does seem, and in my opinion, Bitcoin is a way better alternative. I think there might be a question here from Trolls. I have 5,000 I can put into the market, but I have to take them out again in November. I personally wouldn't have a problem doing that. I feel confident that we're in a bull run, and that this is the second leg up, and I'm personally very comfortable that will be significant in November. But if you really need that money, if you really need that 5,000, you have to use it. Then there's always a risk investing it in anything. So they're guaranteeing there's no promises. I'm just saying that I'm comfortable enough that I would probably do it. If you really need it, you got to think twice. And it's your call. It's not financial advice and responsible if you do that. I have to say this because otherwise I'm liable. I don't want to be liable. I just want to share my input and my ideas, and then you guys have to make up your mind. And Rishi has an answer here, and that is if he had 5K and he didn't need the money, and that's, I think, key. If you don't really need it, he would buy Bitcoin, and I would definitely do the same. Anyways, all right, guys, I already did the outro about careful about spending too much very current for fiat currency for too long a period of time, because it's a building policy to take that value away from you. So on that note, I'll see you in the next one, and I hope that our internet connection. I may try to drop this from Sweden in the weekend. My buddy has really he's got some serious pro. I don't know. I may not have time for that. We need to have a good time. So I don't know. Next week if I can find another place. Yeah. For the next one, thanks for tuning in, guys. See you.